Hello and welcome everybody to the Dating Without Nipples podcast, where we go topless, taking the top off of insecurities, limiting beliefs, any obstacles that might stand in the way of living our most inspired and courageous life. I'm so excited today to have with me Charletta Spicer. Charletta is a speaker, coach, and aspiring author. She is the president of Quality of Life, a nonprofit whose mission is to strengthen families. Her business is Another Level Coaching and Consulting. Her coaching specialty is life and relationships, and the main emphasis is on women's empowerment. The business consulting portion of her company focuses on taking entrepreneurs to the next level. Charletta's education background is business management and theology. She has been the guest contributor on both local and international podcasts, most recently discussing topics ranging from mental health in the Black community to fighting injustice. Charletta, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love that introduction. I want to meet her.
She sounds like a true powerhouse to me, and also someone with a huge heart. This is something that's been coming up a lot lately, is not just love and choosing love and being kind, but love in action. And when I read your bio and what I know about you, I see love in action. I see truth and joy and someone who's making an impact in the world. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got to what you're doing today, your personal story, and what are some of the things you've been through that has touched your heart, but also inspired you to take action?
Okay. I will be honest, I went kicking and screaming initially because I started in corporate America in the insurance industry. I've known for quite a while that there was a call to do more. For example, I always came alive when it was time to do the volunteer assignments at my church, when it was time to do the outreach missions, the back to school programs. I signed up for everything. And that was when I always came alive. During the week, it was more so sitting at my desk. I did well at my job simply because it was more programming. But I should have known something was different because my office was kind of like, or my cubicle was kind of like the therapy spot for anyone that had a problem. And it would always end up being, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I'd have to hurry up and get my work done because for me, my name is really important. So I would say, well, okay, we'll finish this at lunchtime because I really cared about whether or not people were okay. But at the same time, I'm at work. So it was a balancing act where I'm just like, I'll talk to you at lunchtime, but hang in there. And so hindsight, I should have seen all this coming. It always happened where if I'm in the break room, somebody with some tragedy would always come in and I think, why are they telling me this? And it became kind of a joke with my friends, whether it was like the biggest corporate executive that just flew in and he would say something like, I just don't know, I feel like giving up. And I'm like, well, you can't give up. What do you mean you feel like giving up? You can't do that. And I'd always be like this cheerleader. So I knew there was something. But there's that thing called money, and there are those things called bills, and there's life. And so I used to always think to myself, well, yeah, that's nice for other people, but you have a husband that pays the bills. So that's why you're able to go out here and pursue your calling. And I would sit there thinking, well, I've got things to do. I've got children to take care of. I can't, that's not for me. But what ended up happening was it came to a point where I pivoted when my mom passed, unfortunately. Because I grew up watching my mom serve. I grew up watching my mom help the homeless. I grew up seeing all these things. And I knew that was a part of who we were. I knew that was a part of our value system. My mom, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but I always thought it was impressive the fact that whatever she had, she would share it. And that stuck with me. Now, my dad was a little bit different. He was the type where he was more practical. You need, yes, but we need to get money too. We need to do this. And so that's where I got my work ethic, my no nonsense, my tough love. I got all that from him, but my mom was more so, oh, don't be like that. So there was always a good balance for me. But I saw this in her, and at her funeral, it took a turn for me because I saw this young guy. He was a young white guy, and he was at her casket, and he was just sobbing. And I asked my sister, who is that? And I found out he was the pizza delivery guy. He came to their building. And so I had a chance to talk to him, and he said, your mom was the only one that ever took the time to talk to me. He says, I don't talk to my family. I don't know when the last time I've talked to my family. He said, but your mom always took time to pray with me. She always took time to talk to me and tell me things were going to be okay. And I'm looking at, and if you saw this guy, you would think to look at my mom and to look at him, they would have absolutely nothing in common. And I just looked at him and I kept thinking to myself, that's legacy. That's legacy, not money and property and things, but just the fact that when I leave here, what are people going to say? Are they going to say, wow, she really handled those claims well? She really kept her desk up. She really, and I thought, no, because in my mind, I thought other people can do this, but there isn't anyone that can do what I do. So that's why I'm so unfulfilled because I know that I have all, there's like a giant sitting inside me and I'm playing this role and they call it the imposter syndrome. So I'm playing this role from day to day and I'm thinking, you know better because it's one thing to get out here and to write a check, but it's another thing to be able to touch people and not everybody can do that. And so when that happened with my mom, that's when I decided, no, okay, I've got to do something. And I decided to make it in honor of my mom.
Mm.
And what started as, because she passed away, unfortunately, from heart problems, and she had some other pre-existing conditions as well. So I thought, I'm going to start with eating right. I'm going to start with exercising. I'll start there. Because in my mind, I thought, well, we hear the phrase, I don't know if you ever heard this phrase, but it's called generational curses. And I've talked to my daughter about that. She's 13. And I said, it sounds spooky, but really all it is just the fact that you do things different. You grow up in a certain way. And then when you get older and you know better, you do better. So for us growing up with not a lot of money, then there was things that we would eat, fried this, fried that. And sometimes that's a part of the culture. Sometimes it's a part of, well, we've got to make this meal stretch. So it may not be the healthiest. There's not going to be a lot of salad. There's not going to be a lot of fruits and vegetables because those go bad in a couple of days. So there's got to be a lot of things that you have to eat that stretches. That's something people still deal with when we talk about eating healthy. So these are the things that I talk to my daughter about at 13. When it comes to breaking these curses, it means simply, I'm going to do something different. It doesn't mean that I slight or shade or shame my parents because they did the best that they could. But because I know better, I do better, and then you'll know better. And then it gets better and better as each generation comes along. So it started with that, and it just took me down this whole course of self discovery. I said, okay, I've got to set boundaries because I need this time to work out. And I found out so much about myself. I feel like when you get quiet and when you get by yourself, you have all the answers that you need. But you have to shut out those voices that come along to say, that's not possible. So I thought, well, I'm going to go home every day. I'm going to put my headset on, and I'm going to dance because I love to dance. That is the only thing that I'll stick to. Because for years, my friends would say, girl, come on, let's go walking. And I would go because I like the social part of it. But the minute that they wouldn't go, I don't know, I don't feel like walking because it's just me out there. And I was like, oh, this is boring. And then there is the years I tried at the gym, and it's just like boom, 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 boom on the treadmill. And I'm like, this is stupid. So I wouldn't stick to it.
Yeah.
And it was just so amazing to me that after years of trying to figure out what I would stick to, when I got quiet and when I decided, because it started with that decision. And I tell women that I coach, you don't have to figure it out. The only thing you have to do is say, I'm available.
Mm.
And once you make that decision, it's like a light switch comes on. And whether it's in your sleep, whether you meet someone the next day and they kind of give you some ideas as to what you should do, or whether it's just a thought that comes to your mind, I believe that that's how God helps us to get to where He wants us. But because He's not going to force us to do anything, we have to say, okay, I don't know how these bills are going to get paid. I don't know how to go without a regular paycheck. I don't know how I'm going to get this extra weight off. I don't know how I'm going to do any of this, but I'm available. And the other thing I like to try to get through to women is it's the most liberating thing, but it's going to be the hardest thing because you expect opposition from your enemies. And when I say enemies, I just mean people that just aren't for you. You expect it from them, but you don't expect it from people close to you. And that's what hurts the most. And so what I found out was I told my friends, I said, when I get off work, I'm going home, I'm working out for 1 hour. I'm not going to be on the phone. I'm not going to sit and talk to you. I'm not going to just waste my evenings doing that. And Alissa, that was one of the most painful parts because I lost friends and I thought, what? I You would think that people would be happy because the minute I would take off, say like 6 pounds, I would just be like, oh my goodness, it's working. And I'm not struggling. This is so normal to me. I'm working and I had my Fitbit and I would tell myself I want X amount of steps because I'm always working off a list. So that was another thing that was specific to me. And I was so excited to see, okay, this is working. This is something I can do. But what I like to tell women is that the people that benefit from you not having boundaries are going to push back. And your gift is not for you, it's for the world. And that's why we were saying the other day, it doesn't work for you. My gift doesn't work for me. So it works for me when I give it away because it's a gift from God, but He gave it to me to give away. But what your friends or so-called friends that what they learn about you is they see it. They see it in you. You may not see it yet, but they see it in you. But there's a selfishness that's like, if she starts to help the world, who's going to help me with my problems? Because, Tyrone gets on my nerves and I don't know what to do about him. And I need her to tell me what I should do. Should I stay? Should I call him back? Should I text him back? And it just became this thing where I'm like, wait a minute, this is the pushback, because you're cutting into their free therapy. You're cutting into, hey, well, we just come alive after we talk to you. Like, this is awesome. Wait, what? You don't have time for us because you're going to start talking to strangers about all this. And they sense it. And I thought to myself, we owe it to people that we care about. If you see something in them, you need to tell them. You need to say something like, I don't think you understand just how great your gift is. I don't think you understand the impact that you have on people, because sometimes people don't see it. And your close friends see it, but they're just like, because I want her to myself. And so I did. I lost friends, but fast forward, those friends have been replaced by people that are so amazing, so supportive. And I just think to myself, I didn't know people could pour into me like I pour into other people. And that's another benefit from it, because you start attracting the people that are for you. You start pulling those people, because when you're on your path, everything that you need and all the connections that you need and all the people that you need, they're strategically placed on your path. And like I said, God's not going to make you do anything, but if you're over on a trail somewhere else and you're struggling and you're just like, oh my goodness, look at all these rocks, and they're just hitting you inside the head. And God's like, oh gosh, if you would just get over here on your path, get over here on your path, please. And once you get on that path, it's like people just start presenting themselves. And it's like, what? Like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing to me. And so that's why I became a coach, because I thought, one, I've got to replace that paycheck. But two, I want to help other people do this, because I don't think people understand that there's a great, big, beautiful life out here. And whether you've spent your time raising your kids and you've pushed all their stuff, sports, music, all their stuff, or whatever you've been doing and putting yourself on the back burner, I like to help women with, it's your turn now. It's your turn. It's time for you to fulfill those dreams that are in you. And there's a reason why you have those dreams. They're not just to fantasize about and doodle at work and think, oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. No, it's possible. It's possible. So that's my mission. That's my mission in the world, to help women with that.
Incredible. I feel it. I feel like you've just poured so much into me, and I feel so full and so happy. Thank you. There were so many moments where I just wanted to jump through and jump in the screen, and I had so many questions. And then as you would continue to speak, I would just sink back into what you were saying. Any one of those questions might pop up when you've finished, but I was really absorbing just every word and all of your intentions. Thank you. I also got a vision when you were speaking about the pizza delivery guy at your mom's funeral. I immediately jumped to you in your office, also serving everybody. Just saw a real parallel there, and I think that's beautiful. Also, kudos, bravo, for not having to make something into a negative in order to overcome it, right? We don't shame. For me, I've heard it described, when you talk about the generational curse, I've heard it described as ancestral trauma. And what can it's the Maya Angelou, right? When you know better, do better. Forgiveness, compassion, self-love. It's really such a beautiful thing. I also hit obstacles with family members, with people. And it was such a bullet to the heart to realize,
Yes.
one, well, what felt like, maybe it wasn't it, but what felt like, oh, you don't believe in me. You don't think
Mm-hmm.
I can do this, or which sometimes fuels people, right? That if you
Mm-hmm.
underestimate me, I'm going to prove the whatever. For me, that was, uh-oh,
Yes.
if they don't believe in me, how am I going to believe in me?
Yes.
And you're right. And then when we talk so much as entrepreneurs, especially in coaching, about thinking about our ICA, our ideal customer avatar, and who we want to work with, sometimes
Yes.
we idealize that person too much, and we forget that whether it's early customers or clients or our friends and family, there is absolutely this vibe of like, well, we'll just be friends and
Right.
you just give it to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And boundaries are so important.
They are.
I would love to hear the part of your story and journey where you bring, was it dad's energy that you bring back in? Where
Mm-hmm.
did you cross into, I'm also worthy to have a paycheck for this, the businesswoman side of you? Did you have insecurities about charging? And how did that play out?
I did. Initially, I did. But I always have his voice in my head. My dad, unfortunately, he passed away when I was younger. He passed away when I was 14. But what's interesting about that is my sister used to always go with my mom. They go to church, Bible class, prayer meeting, choir rehearsal. They'd always be at church. And I'm like, I don't feel like going to church again. And he's like, come on, let's go shopping. And so I would always go shopping, or because he had a better offer. I'd rather go shopping. And so, or the ball game or the wrestling match. And what's so interesting to me is that he would always do these life lessons as we're riding along. Don't put too much thought into these little boys. They're not talking about anything. They're just they're not talking about anything. Or he had all these sayings. He would say like, "Oh, fat meat. They don't believe fat meat is greasy." And I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then as I grew up, I thought, oh, you have to show them. That's what that meant. Because some of the lessons he gave me, I was so young and I thought, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm like, I'm 10. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know.
I have a 10-year-old that I guarantee you thinks that. Not all the time. Yeah.
I just wanted an ice cream cone. Like, I don't really know what that means. And
Yeah.
so, but it didn't stop him because he kept on saying all these things. And it's almost like I felt like I'm grateful. And that's what has me at a point now where, with everything that's going on with like Black Lives Matter and the whole issue with police brutality and everything, even though I'm fueled by my son who's 20 and I always want him safe, I'm also fueled by the fact that I know some amazing Black men. And I think to myself, my dad helped make me who I am just as much as my mom did. And actually, I feel like the person that he made me to be is the one who protects the one that my mom made me to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there's that boundary. And I see a difference sometimes, even with my sister, who spent more time with my mom. And I used to always think, how is it that you can grow up in the same household with the same parents and you kind of think different? And then it dawned on me, it's about the lessons that you pick up along the way and who you cling to more so, or who you listen to more so, or who you look at more often. And my sister is a sweetheart, but sometimes she's 3 years older than I am, but she calls me her big little sister
Mhm.
because I'm the person that's that comes in, and I'm just like, okay, this is not going to work. This is not okay. And she looks like, uh-oh, you guys have got her upset now. Like, uh-oh. Because realistically, the only time that comes out is if it's about family, because I'm very protective of the people that I love. And if I see that somebody's overstepping or trying to hurt them or take advantage, then I'm that one in my family that says, give me the phone number, let me call them, because they should not be charging you that much, or they need to give you a refund. And then she'll say, my sister's coming up here to get you. And so we laugh and joke about it, but that's where I got that from. I got that from my dad, and he was no nonsense. One story, when I was 6 years old, there's this little boy in my class. His name was Gregory, and Gregory flipped up my dress and looked under it, and I was mortified. I was like, oh God, even though I wore shorts under it. And I told my mom, and she's like, oh, what's wrong with that little boy? What's wrong with him? Something's wrong with that little boy. But instinctively, I knew she didn't do enough. So when my dad got home, I thought, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell him, because she's upset, but she's not mad enough. And so I told him, and my dad's like, come on. No, well, actually, he went to school with me the next day. That's what he did. He went to school with me, and we're on the playground. Next thing I know, he has Gregory upside down by his ankles. My dad was no joke. He was nothing to play with, right? He said, so you like looking underneath little girls' skirts, little boy? That's what you like doing? And he's like, and to me, and I don't know if that just like set the bar way too high for me in the future. I'm like, oh my goodness, can I do?
Awesome.
Nobody's gonna bother me anymore. Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time, Gregory probably is not going to be a pedophile or anything else because of my dad. So you guys think that my mom helped change the world? I think my dad did too, because Gregory's going to think twice before he starts, because I don't know what made him do that, but whatever is deep down on the inside of him was shaken right out.
That was corrected for life. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
I could that stopped it in its tracks. So those are like my memories of him, and that's where it comes from.
I'm sensing such a magnificent balance with mom and dad, with the dance of feminine and masculine. And not that it needs to play out with the female and the male, but maybe that sometimes the mom is the tough love and the dad is more genteel. But there has to be the structure and the strength and the safety to lean on for the feminine to absolutely go into, as you describe, whether it's an hour a day or whatever moment that is, that says I'm safe to release completely and lean on God, and to trust and to serve and to be kind and gentle and open and widely available. It really does have to be both. And I love what you said when your dad was talking about the greasy meat that you have, and your takeaway was, oh, you have to show them. That to me has been such a huge aha. And when I stepped away from the big stepping away from insecurity was, it's not about me, not in the sense that it's, oh, just get over it, you shouldn't have those feelings, because of course we have to validate our feelings. Yes. But when I realized, if I really want to make the impact that I want to make, women have to see me do it. They won't do it until they see me do it, even if I'm triggering some people, right? Even if people walk away, or even if they judge and all of those things. But we show them. And I think even in charging what we're worth and valuing our time, we show women this is how. So
Yes,
I
because
think that's
you
fantastic.
have to. It's a part of that not feeling that you deserve it is where that comes from. And so there's a certain false humility, but your gift is important. And the way that I look at it and the way that I came to terms with it is I'm going to be okay. My kids are going to be okay. But if I want to make the difference in the world that I want to make, if I want to help other little brown babies, if I want to send somebody to college, if I want to pay for a sports program, I'm going to need more. And it's not out of greed, it's out of, I'm not doing this a bigger house or a nicer car. It takes money to make a difference. That's the reality. And if a single mom comes to me and she's about to get evicted, I've always thought, no, you're not. Here, where where do I call? Who do I call? Where do I send this? Because you cannot change the world if you're just thinking about yourself. One of the biggest things I like to tell women is that I want you to stop looking at what happened to you, and I want you to start thinking about what can happen through you. That's my job as a coach. I'm not going to do it for you. There is that tough love because tough love says, girl, you can do this. But then I come back and say, you ain't did nothing. Look, don't waste my time. Don't I look, somebody else over here needs my help, okay? Because I don't have time for you. Look, you say I still love you, but you stay right there. Because I don't have no, you have money for shoes, you have money for purses, but you don't have money for coaching. We're good.
Right.
That's
Right.
the tough love part because you have to be direct with people if you want them to change. I can't do it for you, but I can tell you that it's possible. I can tell you that I lost 60 pounds and it wasn't because of anything outside. It was just, wait a minute. So dance, burn it up. And then that kind of cuts my appetite a little bit. And then I make healthier choices. But I've done this work. So I know what it takes. And that's what I want to help women with. That's my goal in life. So, for your listeners, what I would like to offer today is I would like to offer a free half-hour consultation.
Mm, so generous. Thank you.
Yes. I am on social media. You can follow my nonprofit page, Quality of Life, or I'm also under my married name, Charletta Taylor, on Instagram, but Facebook was Charletta Spicer. So that's my maiden
And I
name.
can put a lot of your social links and websites,
Yes.
whatever you're working on, in the show notes to make sure that
Great.
people can follow up with you. I am such a fan of the tough love, be direct, because you know what that says to people? It says, I can do it, watch me do.
Mhm.
And it says, I believe in you. I believe in you that you can do it too. So I'm not taking your bullshit. My had a
Exactly.
daughter, I thought she had her fifth grade teacher was too hard on her. And it was such a pivotal moment when she came home one day and she said, no, mom, I like it because it tells me that she knows I can do it. And
Yes.
I switched gears right in that moment to just always treat them at their highest, or what I see them being capable of. And
Absolutely.
I can see you going out in the world and doing that. So thank you so much for your offer. Any last words, anything that you would like to say, especially in regards to what is going on in the world right now? Anything else that you would impart that you've had come through from your channeling, your moment, your times with God?
I would just like to say that we are getting better as a society. We still have a long way to go, but that we are getting better. My grandparents, my great grandparents, my great 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 grandparents, I am their wildest dream comes true.
Mm.
And my hope and prayer and desire is that that's what generations after me will say, and that I believe that a lot of the answers are found in our young people, and that we need to listen to our young people
Mm.
because that's who we're trying to build a better world for. That's my motivation, is to build a better world for my children. And if we look at it that way, sometimes we can take some personal ownership of it, that we're just trying to make the world a better place for everyone, because a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And everybody has to be okay.
Yeah. Know better, do better.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your stories, your big, huge heart, and the impact that you're making in the world.
Thank you so much for having me, Alissa. I really enjoyed this.
Awesome. All right, everybody, until next time, go topless, do your thing, do your best.